In this video, Stumps and I are going to show you how to build our version of Castle Grayskull in Valheim. Most people watch this video after watching the Castle Grayskull cinematic trailer. If you haven't seen the trailer, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. The build is a simple square castle with a circular tower on each corner. In one of the towers, I added a spiral corewood staircase so you can access the roof of the structure. The tallest tower has a hearth for cooking. The height of the tower gives the smoke time to dissipate without the need for ventilation. The medium tower serves as a crafting area with a workbench and forge along with several of their upgrades. The fourth tower serves as a treasure room, but it can be converted to a comfort room as needed. The main room of the castle is a majestic throne room that awaits its king or queen. The original Castle Grayskull came with several accessories which I tried to recreate with this build. One is the ballista mounted on top of the medium tower. Another is the iconic weapon rack that would hold all the weapons and shields that came with your action figures. And finally, a flag for the tallest tower. There are no flags in Valheim, so we use banners instead. Now that you've toured the castle, let's get into the build. To start, level the area around the giant skull in the swamps. You probably already did this for the boss fight, but if not, do it now. Once everything is leveled, we need to position the skull at the center of the build. Place a 1 meter wood beam behind the skull centered on the runestone. Ignore the red markings on the runestone as they're slightly off-center. There's a seam going down the middle of the skull you can use to make centering a little easier. Place two 2 meter wood beams on both sides of the piece we just placed. Place 2 more 2 meter wood beams on both sides of the skull, perpendicular to the beams we just placed. Now place 2 1 meter stone walls on the ends of the wood beams we just placed on both sides of the skull. You'll need to use shift to place the stone pieces on the ground, or your castle will be floating slightly and will cause serious structural problems later. Use both the wood beam as well as the skull to help position the block. When you press shift, the block should drop straight down to the ground like this. If you're happy with how your build is positioned on the skull, delete everything except 2 stone pieces on one side of the skull. These will act as the cornerstones for our build. Next, we'll build up the side of one of the front 2 towers. Keep stacking 1 meter stone walls on the 2 cornerstone pieces until they're 7 meters tall. I find using a bottom snap point makes this step a lot easier. Using a series of 1 meter and 2 meter stone walls, extend a wall across the front of the build using an alternating brick pattern. Build off the stone pieces closest to the back of the skull. When you get to the opposite side of the skull, make 2 stacks of 1 meter stone walls side by side until they reach the ground, mirroring the opposite side. Everything should look perfectly centered on the skull at this point. If not, delete everything and repeat this process. Keep making minor adjustments until you're happy before moving on to the next step. Next, we'll lay out the floor plan for our building using a series of 1 meter and 2 meter wood beams. It's important to note that our towers are not truly round. They're actually 6 meter by 6 meter squares with the corners rounded off using a series of 1 meter stone walls. So we'll start with squares for the towers and round them off later. The wall sections between our 4 towers are all 7 meters long. This is where you'll find out if you have enough space for the build. If, like me, you don't have enough space, you'll need to raise some ground until you have enough to support the build. The swamps can be a pretty dark place, so we're going to need light to work by. I like to place several bonfires around the build since they stay lit in the rain. Now that we have the floor plan in place, we can lay a foundation layer of stone. We'll start with one tower and repeat the process for the remaining 3 towers. Place 2 1-meter stone walls in the middle of each of the 4 sides of your tower. Using a top corner snap point, place a 1-meter stone wall next to one of the stones you just placed and rotate it 1 tick with your mouse wheel. This will cause your stone pieces to overlap slightly. This is the key to rounding your tower's corners. Repeat this process with 2 more 1-meter stone wall pieces until you connect with the adjacent side of the tower. Repeat this process for the remaining 3 corners. Now repeat the whole process for the remaining 3 towers, placing a series of 1-meter and 2-meter stone walls to connect the towers. Your build should now look like this. Delete all of the wood beams we used for the floor plan so only the stone footprint remains. All 4 stone towers are structurally the same, just different heights, so I'm going to show you how to build one tower and you can repeat the process for the remaining 3. We'll start with the tower in the back left corner as it'll house the spiral core wood stairway. Repeat the process we used to place the first ring of stone on the ground until the tower is 7 meters tall. When building the towers, take your time and use the outer edge of the tower wall for snapping. You'll be much less likely to make a mistake this way. Now that the sides of the tower are finished, we can build the spiral core wood stairway. We'll start by removing the bottom 3 layers of stone on the inside of the castle to create a doorway for easy access. Standing at the bottom of the tower, place a temporary 2-meter wood beam 3 meters off the ground, perpendicular to the center of one of the 4 side walls like this. Using a top snap point, snap a 4-meter log pole to the bottom of the wood beam you just placed to create a central column for the stairway. Delete the temporary wood beam. Repeat this process using a 2-meter wood beam 7 meters off the ground and a second 4-meter log pole to complete the central column. Again, delete the wood beam. Using auto-snapping, place a temporary 2-meter log beam connecting the bottom of the center pole with the middle of the left side wall. Use the snap point where the log beam and center pole connect to place a second 2-meter log beam connecting the center pole with the left side of the door like this. Delete the temporary log beam. Create a spiral by placing several 2-meter log beams rotating each piece 1 tick with your mouse wheel and placing it directly above the last piece you placed. I find using a bottom snap point and targeting the center pole makes this process a lot easier. Once the stairway reaches the top of the tower, use a series of 2-meter stone walls to create a landing at the top of the tower. Repeat this process for the remaining 3 towers, but skip the spiral stairway and landing. Fill in the remaining wall sections between the towers using a series of 1-meter and 2-meter stone walls to create an alternating brick pattern. Make the right and back walls 7 meters tall and the left wall only 3 meters tall. At this point, you should have all 4 walls up and all 4 towers that stand 7 meters tall. The back 2 towers are at their maximum height. We just need to build up the front 2 towers. Keep adding layers of stone until the front right tower is 13 meters tall and the front left tower is 9 meters tall. Build wooden ladders so you can reach the top of the towers safely if you need to. You'll need to access the top of the towers later in the build. Create a window on the front of the tallest tower by deleting the center two pieces from the 7th, 8th, and 9th layers. Place two intersecting stone arches at the top of the window opening, like this. Use a 2-meter wood beam, two 2-meter wood poles, and a 26-degree wood cross above the window to frame it up nicely. Use a series of 2-meter stone walls to create a roof for each of the towers using a top corner snap point like this. Add an extra layer of stone to the front wall that connects the two tallest towers so the front wall stands 8 meters tall and the side and back walls stand 7 meters tall. The right side of our build features the door to our castle. Place a wooden gate 2 meters from the front of the build and 1 meter off the ground. Delete enough stone blocks to create a doorway. You'll need to replace some of the 2-meter stone walls with 1-meter stone walls to square off the door frame. Place a 2-meter stone wall and a stone stairway outside of the doorway and another stone stairway on the inside of the doorway. Place 2 more 2-meter stone walls on either side of the outside stairs perpendicular to the doorway. Place 2 1-meter stone walls in front of the 2 pieces you just placed. Use shift and a top corner snap point to position the pieces halfway into the ground like this. Now place 2 stone arches at the top of the doorway. I like to embed my arches in the side walls using a bottom corner snap point and holding shift to soften the arch at the top of the door. Play with it until you're happy. Stack 3 1-meter stone walls to create pillars on either side of the doorway. Extend the pillars by half a meter by using a bottom snap point and then holding shift and place the 1-meter stone wall like this. Stack 2 more 1-meter stone walls on top of the piece you just placed and repeat for the other side. On top of the pillars, we're going to make a balcony with 2 windows and a thatch roof. Begin by placing 3 2-meter stone walls above the door. Extend the balcony with another 3 2-meter stone walls in front of the pieces you just placed. The pillars will provide enough support. Now frame off the balcony with a series of 2-meter wood beams and 1-meter wood poles on the corners. On top of the balcony, place 2 1-meter stone walls on either side like this. Using shift and a bottom snap point, place a third 1-meter stone wall centered between the 2 we just placed. Frame this off with a series of 1-meter and 2-meter wood beams. Place 2 26-degree thatch roof outer corners to create a roof. You'll need to embed these pieces halfway into the stone wall. And that completes the right side of our build. The left wall has a series of windows in it that we need to recreate. The wall should already be 3 meters high. For the 4th and 5th layers, stack 2 1-meter stone walls on top of each other. Do this for both end pieces as well as the middle piece of the wall. Using shift plus a bottom corner snap point, place 2 more stacks of 1-meter stone walls centered in the 2 openings to create 4 vertical windows. Complete the 6th and 7th layers of the wall using the standard alternating brick pattern. Above each of the windows, hold shift and place 4 1-meter wood beams sticking directly out of the wall like this. Now we need to extend this wall so as a small walkway in front of it. Because of the scale of the build, the walkway will be non-functional. We're just trying to be as true to the original design as we can be. Place a series of alternating bricks 2 meters tall in front of the existing wall. Start with a 1 meter stone wall in the bottom left corner so you finish with a 1 meter stone wall in the top right corner. We'll need this snap point for later. Now we need to extend this wall one more time. Again, it won't be functional, but it will be true to the original design. Place a series of 4 2-meter stone walls, create a curved wall in front of the walkway we just built. Use the first curved stone in the towers on either side to start the curved wall like this. Place the center 2 stone walls to connect the 2 curved walls like this. Now we need to build a stairway on the right side that leads to the walkway. Using the top left corner snap point, place a stone stairway using the 1 meter stone wall on the top right side of the walkway. Turn the stair piece 1 tick so it matches the curve of the tower. Using the top left corner snap point again, place a 1 meter stone wall under the front left side of the stone stairs we just placed. Use this piece to place another stone stairway in front of it and rotate it 1 tick to match the curve of the tower. Create a wooden wall along the front of the walkway by placing a 26-degree wood cross in the center and 2 26-degree wood beams on either side like this. Place a series of 4 1-meter stone walls along the lower curved wall to act as Merlons. And finally, place 4 1-meter wood beams below each of the Merlons that stick out of the lower curved wall like this. And that completes the left side of our build. The back side of the castle is where I had to really deviate from the original toy's design. The Polystone version of Castle Grayskull has an actual spine going up the back of the castle. I decided to reinforce the back wall with some buttressing. I put 3 columns up by stacking up 1 meter stone walls. I stacked the center column 6 meters tall and the 2 side columns 5 meters tall. At the top of each column, I offset the top block by ½ meter using a bottom corner snap point and holding Shift. And finally, I added several 1-meter wood beams to the center column to simulate the spikes on the spine in the original Polystone version of Castle Grayskull. And that completes the back of our castle. Now our castle needs a roof. Place a series of stone arches 5 meters off the ground on the 3 interior castle walls to support the roof. On the left side wall with the 4 windows, place the arches on the walls between the window openings. Place a series of 2-meter stone floor tiles along the 2 side walls. Do the same along the back wall, but leave a 3-meter gap in the middle. Now place 2 interlocking 2-meter stone floor tiles to create a 3-meter tile to bridge the gap like this. Use the sticky mechanics to build a second row of 2-meter stone floor tiles along the back wall. Start in the corners, then fill in the 3-meter gap with 2 floor tiles like we did before. Place 2 2-meter stone floor tiles on either side of the front castle wall. Place 2 more 2-meter stone floor tiles embedded halfway into the pieces you just placed so their back edge is even with the floor tiles along the side walls like this. Fill the 3-meter wide gap in the middle using 2 more 2-meter stone floor tiles the same way we did at the back of the build. The skull acts just like the ground, so the floor tiles that touch the skull should be blue, giving us just enough support to hold up the roof. Keep adding rows of floor tiles, working your way from the front of the castle to the back until you cover the entire roof. There should be a small gap in the front corners of the roof where it connects to the towers. Fill those gaps with 1-meter stone walls. You'll find slightly larger gaps in the back corners. Fill those with 1-meter and 2-meter stone walls like this. Hold Shift and place 2 sets of stone stairs to connect the rooftop to the top of the back 2 towers. And that completes our castle roof. 3 of our 4 towers have a crown to them where the stone bumps out a bit at the top. Starting with the back left tower with the spiral stairway, use a top corner snap point and snap a 1-meter stone wall to each of the 4 tower side walls. Hold Shift to disable snapping and place a piece sticking halfway out of the tower wall like this. Place a second 1-meter stone wall side by side with each of the 4 pieces you just placed. Now use the same technique we used to curve the tower corners, but skip the 1-meter stone wall piece in the center of the curve. The center stone will no longer bridge the gap because we changed the radius of the tower by bumping it out slightly. We can solve this by snapping 2 1-meter stone walls to opposite sides of the gap so they overlap in the middle, like this. Use the same process to build a crown on the front 2 towers. Next, we'll extend all 3 crowns so they're 2 meters tall. On the back left tower, use a top snap point and place a series of 1-meter stone walls directly below the pieces you just placed, extending the crown downward. On the front 2 towers, use a bottom snap point and place a series of 1-meter stone walls on top of the pieces you just placed, extending the crowns upward. Finally, we'll trim the lower section of each of the tower's crowns with 1-meter wood beams. On the shorter 2 towers, place 1-meter wood poles anywhere a crown connects to a castle wall. I didn't bother to give the back right tower a crown like the other 3 just to give it a slightly different look. I still added the wood trim where the bumped out section would have been for some visual interest. Now we'll place a series of 1-meter stone walls on top of all the towers and walls to act as Merlon. Place 3 Merlons spaced 1 meter apart centered on the top of the back wall. Place a 1-meter wood beam sticking out of the center Merlon to match the rest of the castle's spine. Place 3 Merlons spaced 1 meter apart centered on the top of each side wall and the front wall. Place 8 Merlons on top of each of the 2 tall towers. Center 4 Merlons on each of the side walls and 4 Merlons centered on each of the rounded corners. This is where I like to add several green iron torches to the tower Merlons. If you place the torches on top of the Merlons, they stick out way too high. Instead, we'll embed the torches inside the Merlons. Press V on your keyboard to turn off auto-looting. Pick a tower Merlon and destroy it. A stone should drop centered on where the Merlon was positioned. Use this stone to position a green iron torch at the center of where the Merlon used to be. Retrieve the stone. Then use a bottom corner snap point, and holding Shift, replace the Merlon by centering the top of the Merlon on the torch you just placed. Wash, rinse, and repeat for all of the tower Merlons. The two shorter towers only get 7 Merlons, leaving a gap in the corner where the towers connect to the rest of the castle. Now for some interior decorating. To light the castle, place a series of 4 wall sconces on each of the side walls. Destroy the bottom 3 layers of stone to create doorways to the remaining 3 towers. Place a 2-meter square stone floor tile centered on the back wall. Place a set of stone stairs on both sides of the floor tile and a 3rd set of stairs off the front. On top of the tile, place a stone throne. Next, place 3 item stands on either side of the throne and hang your preferred skull trophies. Place an item stand on either side of the door. I hung a bone tower shield and the stag breaker on the wall in the cinematic trailer, but you can hang whatever you like. Place a red jute carpet on the floor centered between the back of the skull and the throne. Hang red jute curtains in front of each of the doorways in the 4 corners of the throne room. In the tallest tower, place a hearth rotated 45 degrees to match the angle of the doorway. I was able to fit a cauldron, a mead kettle, and an iron cooking station over the hearth. You can place barrels on either side of the hearth for additional storage. Stick a 1-meter wood beam perpendicular to one of the walls to hang a spice rack upgrade. In the second tallest tower, place a workbench and forge. Using a series of 1-meter wood floor tiles, you can create a shelf above both crafting stations for upgrades. Place several barrels around the crafting stations for additional storage. In the back right tower, place 2 2-meter stone walls along the back wall at a 45-degree angle matching the doorway. Place a personal chest on top of this wall along with several stacks of coins. Place several piles and stacks of coins on the ground until you feel like swimming in them like Scrooge McDuck. You can always replace the cold hard cash with a warm soft bed. And finally, I like to place as many barrels as I can fit below the spiral stairway. It's one of the few storage options in the castle, and it keeps me from getting trapped behind the stairs when I'm trying to run up them. I never came up with a great solution for decorating the back of the skull. One option I thought was cool is to use 2 item stands on top of one another and place a green Rancid Remains Skull trophy in the front stand and a Wraith trophy on the back stand. This is about as close to a tribute to Skeletor as I could come up with. To create the weapon rack, place a 2-meter wood beam along the side wall. Place 2 1-meter wood beams on either end perpendicular to the wood beam, then delete the 2-meter wood beam. Hold Shift and place a 2-meter wood pole centered on one of the 1-meter wood beams. Place a 2-meter wood beam across the top and another 2-meter wood pole on the opposite side. Place a 45-degree wood beam connecting the top left corner with the bottom right corner. Next, we'll place 2 1-meter wood beams on either side of the 45-degree beam. I found this was easiest to do by targeting the sides of the weapon stand. I wanted to finish off the top corners of the weapon stand, so I used a corner snap point and lined up a 1-meter wood beam on both corners like this. The rest of the weapon rack is a series of item stands. Arrange them as you see fit, and don't forget to use the sides of the weapon rack as well. At the top of the tallest tower, place a 2-meter stone floor tile in the center of the tower. On top of the floor tile, stack a 2-meter and 1-meter wood pole and place a 1-meter wood beam on either side of the top to form a letter T. Hang a green banner on the front and back. At the top of the second tallest tower, place 4 2-meter stone floor tiles in the center of the tower. Place a ballista centered on top of the floor tiles. You'll need to progress pretty far into the game before you have access to the ballista. If you want to recreate the go away sign by the doorway, it's a 2-meter wood beam with 3 signs stacked on top of one another. I used HTML codes to turn the text white and insert the skull. I'll leave the codes used in the description below so you can copy and paste them into your own build. If you want to plant some turnips around the build, you'll need to use the cultivator to cultivate some soil. They need open sky, so you might have to delete some build pieces until the turnips are fully grown. You can then replace the build pieces above the turnips and they won't die. Now place a bunch of green iron torches around the castle for dramatic lighting. Be sure to place a torch centered in each of the skull's eye sockets to give it glowing green eyes, and don't forget to remove the bonfires like I did. Finally, let's do some simple landscaping. Equip the hoe tool, right-click, and select the paved road option. Use this to cover the dirt floor on the interior of the castle. Next, use the hoe tool to place a short stone path in front of the door on the right side and another stone path in front of the stairs on the left side of our build. Equip the cultivator tool, right-click, and select the grass option. Use it all around the exterior of your castle. You can use the cultivator to narrow your stone paths if you feel they're too wide. And that completes our build. If you build your own castle, Grayskull, feel free to share some screenshots with me on my Discord channel. You can also join Stumps and I as we build castles and other unique structures in Valheim live on Twitch. Join my Discord channel for go live announcements or check out my streaming schedule in the description below. Thanks!